The end-time conquest of Constantinople in Islamic eschatology. Eschatology is a well-developed branch of knowledge, a very old branch of knowledge in Christianity, and so too in Judaism, but not in Islam. The subject matter of eschatology was taught in Islam as a part of the traditions of the Prophet. Allah's blessings be upon him. It has been the kindness of the Lord God that He has allowed me to make an effort to pioneer the development of Islamic eschatology as a new branch of knowledge in Islam in the modern age. Also, you hardly ever would find someone lecturing on Constantinople, the conquest of Constantinople, in eschatology. It's a forgotten subject. Forgotten because of a number of reasons. I can share with you one. It's more than simply mysterious. It's mystifying that the secular Republic of Turkey, which emerged from the ashes of the Ottoman state, should have made it illegal to use the name Constantinople in Turkey. Not only was the name changed from Constantinople to an older name, Istanbul, but more than that, you're prohibited from using the name Constantinople. As a consequence, it becomes a little bit easier for you to understand why the subject is now forgotten, because of a deliberate and calculated effort to bury it. But praise be to the Lord God that we are now removing the dust and bringing it out once more, so the sunshine might come upon it. Our Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, once spoke to a companion of his and gave him a timeline of events that will occur in the end time. He said that when Jerusalem is built up, using the analogy of construction and destruction, when Jerusalem is built up, implication being when Jerusalem is center stage in the world, then look to Yathrib. Yathrib being the city which today is called Medina. Yathrib is in a state of forlorn desolation, destruction. Again, using the analogy of construction and destruction, implying that Jerusalem is center stage in the world and Yathrib or Medina is nowhere, playing absolutely no role whatsoever in the affairs of the world. Then at that time, he said, the next event that you can expect would be the Great War. The Christians know of the Great War as Armageddon, and our Prophet described it with another term, the Malhama. Before we proceed further, I need to go back to Jerusalem and spend a little time at the contrast between Jerusalem and Yathrib or Medina. What this prophecy of the Prophet, Allah's blessings be upon him, is conveying is that Jerusalem symbolizes a people who will rise to center stage in the world. They would be a people who in the end time would return to that city, having been expelled from it by divine decree more than 2,000 years previously. I have to now go to the Quran to take the subject a little further concerning Jerusalem. The Quran speaks of a city. It does not name the city. It says of this city that it was destroyed by the Lord God, and the people of the city were expelled. And then there was a ban placed on them. They could never return to this city. You could come back as tourists, yes, but you cannot return to reclaim this city as your own until Gog and Magog are released. Gog and Magog are central figures in Christian eschatology and Jewish eschatology. Sadly so, they are not well known in Islamic eschatology. When Gog and Magog are released into the world, and when in addition to that, they spread out in all parts of the world, and they are people, human beings, Gog and Magog, but they are a people who commit acts of oppression, a wicked people, and they are a people with power. So much power do they have that only the Lord God himself can destroy them. And so when they spread out in all directions, they will take control of the world. in what would now be known as the world order of Gog and Magog. And it is at that time, after these two things have occurred, number one, the release of Gog and Magog into the world, and number two, the emergence of the world order of Gog and Magog, taking control of power all over the world. Only then will these people come back to this town or city to reclaim it as their own. So they don't come back riding on the train of truth. They come back on the wagon of oppression and lies and deceit. Which town is it? My study of eschatology led me without any doubt whatsoever that the Quran was speaking of Jerusalem. So that in the end time, those who control power in Jerusalem and who will bring a state of Israel into being in Jerusalem and who will attempt to bring that Israel to center stage in the world would be oppressors with no credentials whatsoever to represent the one true religion which came from Father Abraham. So it is when that Jerusalem, that blood-stained Jerusalem, that Jerusalem of oppression, that Jerusalem of wickedness is center stage in the world, then look to the world that follows Muhammad, Allah's blessings be upon him. And he's saying at that time, my people will play no role whatsoever in the world. The world of Islam will have no role to play in history. We would be weak, we would be broken up, and this is symbolized by the term that is used in construction and destruction. When Jerusalem is center stage and Yathrib or Medina is in full-on desolation, which is where we are today, then, said the Prophet, the next event that will occur would be the Great War. But then he went on to say that after the Great War, something very, very, very strange will occur. And we need to scratch our head and think, how does this come into it? How does this fit into the timeline of events? He said the next event would be the conquest of Constantinople. No university in the world could ever have spoken those words. No political scientist anywhere on the face of the earth could have uttered those words. Only a prophet could say that after the Great War, the next event that will occur would be the conquest of Constantinople. But then again, the same forces who changed the name of Constantinople to something else and then prohibited the use of the name Constantinople in order that this subject might be buried, those same forces 600 years ago did something even more sinister when the Ottoman state defeated the Byzantine state that was located in Constantinople. And we would have more to talk about that. The Sultan entered into Constantinople, and the very first thing that he did, to the eternal shame and disgrace of the world of Islam, the Ottoman Sultan, to the eternal shame and disgrace of the world of Islam, then took Hagia Sophia, which was the premier cathedral of the Christian world, and which had been its premier cathedral for more than 1,000 years, and shamefully and disgracefully and sinfully converted it into a masjid. And then this false flag was hoisted into the sky. That a prophecy of Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessings be upon him, was now fulfilled. He prophesied that you, meaning his followers, you would conquer Constantinople. And he praised the army, and he praised the commander. And they said, this is the man that the Prophet was speaking about, Sultan Muhammad Fatih. And that lie has continued for 600 years, and that lie is still flying high in certain parts of the world. No, you fool, with a capital F. The prophecy of Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessings be upon him, has not as yet been fulfilled. And what happened 600 years ago was an attempt to sabotage the truth. An attempt to foist an act of injustice and oppression and sinfulness and make it appear to be the truth. And so our subject is not an easy one at all. The conquest of Constantinople, prophesied in Islamic eschatology, will occur only after the Great War. And no one on the face of the earth today, apart from some in Turkey and the Balkans, no one believes that the Great War has taken place as yet. Armageddon has not as yet taken place for the rest of us. But for them, yes, it has already taken place. Why? Because the prophecy of Prophet Muhammad, Allah's blessing be upon him, was fulfilled with Sultan Muhammad Fatih when he conquered Constantinople in 1452. No, that is a lie. The conquest of Constantinople, prophesied by the Prophet, has not as yet taken place.